During World War II, numerous partisan detachments operated behind enemy lines. They liquidated enemy officers and soldiers, blew up various warehouses and trains. The famous partisan inventor Tengiz Shavgulidze served in one of these detachments. Before the war, he worked on the railway and received an engineering degree. Since 1939, Lieutenant Shavgulidze served in the railway troops, and in 1941 he fought in Ukraine, where he was wounded and captured. In the summer of 1942, Shavgulidze escaped from German captivity and joined a partisan detachment in the Minsk region. The partisans often had difficulty obtaining the necessary amount of explosives to blow up German trains, and in the winter of 1942, Shavgulidze came up with and made the first example of a special device that could derail trains without explosives. It was called the Shavgulidze wedge. The wedge was a specially shaped piece of metal weighing 20 to 25 kilograms, which could be made in any village forge. It was installed on the rails in just a couple of minutes and secured with 2 bolts. The wedge ensured that any train would derail. The enemy train would run into it with its front wheels, slide along the slanting rail, and go off the rails. The faster the train moved, the greater the disaster. When a locomotive was blown up with an explosive device, the hoses of the pneumatic brake system would break, the brake shoes would drop on all the cars, and most of the train would manage to stop and survive. The locomotive would go off the rails, and in the best-case scenario, the first few carriages. The partisan wedge left the pneumatic system intact, and the entire train would defy nightly go off the rails. The device turned out to be so simple and effective that its drawings were distributed to all partisan detachments and began to be actively used, especially on the highest speed sections of the railway. Every second German train derailed by the partisans was destroyed with the help of Shavgulidze's wedge. In total, during the war, the partisans derailed about 18,000 German trains. On modern railways, an improved partisan wedge is used, which is called a drop shoe. It is used in peacetime, in special cases, which I will talk about in one of the following videos. Subscribe to the channel. There will be much more interesting things ahead.